Hey, I haven't done a video in a really long time, so I'm going to give it a really good go today. So I had a couple of suggestions, which was really nice. So we're going to go with my going out story. It might be a little boring. I might get lost in a tangent, but I'll give it a go. So pretty much, I kind of knew that there was something about me that didn't fit for a really long time. I would probably say pretty much as long as I can remember. I figured that there was something kind of felt wrong. It just felt weird. Like, I didn't quite fit anywhere. And no matter how I behaved, I still didn't feel like it fit. Um, so it was very confusing when I was a kid. And I remember saying to my mum when I was really, really young, and I was quite upset because I felt confused. And I just remember saying, I should have been born a boy. And my mother is wonderful. She's a very supportive, very loving person. And her words in response to that were, "Oh, don't be silly. You can be, you can be a tomboy if you want to. You don't have to be a boy." And obviously, it's because we didn't know that this was how things were going to turn out. So my mum was just being supportive and telling me that I'm a girl, but I can act like a boy. It doesn't matter, and I can be who I need to be. But at the same time, it was kind of, I think I took that to say that I was wrong. But it's not that I was, like, that's not what she said. But obviously, when you're younger, things happen. So I did hold on to that for a really long time. That changing my gender was not a thing. Like, it was just, I have to deal with it and just kind of get on with it. So, obviously, then a little bit later on in my life, I was like, oh my god, I'm gay. I first came out to my mum as I'm bisexual first because I thought it was a good stepping stone, and also I just wasn't sure. I had boyfriends, so I was unsure that I was only exclusively attracted to women. So for a really long time, I lived my biggest gay life. I was in everyone's face. I was super gay. I cut my hair super short to begin with, and I was all up in everyone's face, and I dressed really boyish. Um, and then I started slowly being referred to with more male pronouns or mistaken as a boy, depending on what I wear and what I said. My voice was very high, so it always was very confusing because it's not high anymore. But if you go to my first YouTube video and listen to my voice, that's kind of generally how it sounded. And actually, through years of smoking, my voice is actually lower than it was. So, yeah. And I realized that I kind of liked it, but I didn't understand why. So I just figured that I really liked the androgynous kind of role of who I was. And then when I was about 18, I had probably one of my first serious adult relationships. Um, she was extremely supportive as well. She was very nice. She literally didn't care what I looked like, what I wore. She just wanted me to be happy, really. So I went through periods where I'd cut my hair really short, wear really masculine clothes, and then I would grow my hair out and wear really girly clothes because I just didn't know how to make myself happy. I had no clue what I was doing because nothing ever felt right. I'd feel kind of okay about stuff for a little while, so I would dress girly and then people would compliment me and I'd be like, oh, that's nice. But then I'd realize deep down that the compliments were nice, but I still didn't feel better. I still felt like there was something wrong. And around that time, it turned out that I have a myriad of different mental health issues, which I'd struggled with for a lot of my life. I found them really hard. I got better. I started to deal with them, but I still felt that it was something wrong. And it was eating me away inside. And then we went our separate ways. We're still very good friends. We still talk now. I still consider her one of my very good friends. She's a wonderful person. And then I got with my next most serious partner, where we like traveled and stuff. Like I moved clear across the country to Canada to be together. We went together. We did everything together. It wasn't like I moved because she lived out there. We went because we both wanted to go. But I felt very trapped in that relationship in the sense that I had to be girly. It was my hair needed to be long. I needed to wear more feminine clothes, and I just needed to present solidly as female, with also the hints that I might not be gay. I needed to present kind of more like I was straight but alternative, so my hair was really long. Bunch of stuff like that. If you go through my Instagram, early on in my Instagram, there is a bunch of pictures of me when I was super girly and I lived in Vancouver. I had super long blonde hair. I wore really like tight low vests, stuff like that. And I wasn't uncomfortable, but I wasn't comfortable. I just kind of did what I thought I needed to do to make someone else happy. And that is a lot of how I spent my life, was initially just trying to please other people, not me. Which was weird because I just never thought about myself, really, in the way of taking care of myself. I was just like, no, everyone else is more important. My life is invaluable compared to the others. Which is actually really unhealthy. Like, I found out that was a large contributor to how I dealt with issues. So I moved home from Canada back to Wales. And I had plans. I still didn't know anything about myself. I lost so much weight when I came back from Vancouver. I think I weighed maybe just shy of 100 pounds, which is about 7 stone. And I'm 5'4", so that's not okay. Like, that was really unhealthy, and I drank a lot, and I did take drugs. I took a lot of drugs. I didn't know how to cope, so they were my coping mechanisms. I had a very strange alcohol dependence. I could probably say that throughout my life, I've had periods where I was definitely becoming an alcoholic. But now that's not the case. I don't really drink, ever. If I do, it's a special occasion, and it's usually one big blowout, and then I don't drink for maybe a year. But anyway, so I came home, and I was on one of my epic blowouts where I drank insane amounts, and we're out with my friends, and I met Ash, who is my wife now. We talked for many, many hours that one night, and then we kind of never stopped talking. And the first night she spent together that we hung out, I think that was like 3 years ago, and we haven't really been apart since. The longest we've been apart was when I go away for work, which has been a week at a time, but other than that, we've pretty much always been together. So we got married in October. We got married on Halloween. I was still a woman. She was very wonderful and supportive, and she kept asking me very kindly and very politely, do you think that you might be trans? And the first time she asked me, I was like, no, shut up, don't be stupid. I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then really slowly over time, I started to look into it. I started to look at other people's stories. One of my most prolific people who inadvertently helped me without even knowing they helped me was a person who's on Instagram, and their handle is mxlinds, Linds. It might be Z, I'm sorry. And, you know, they identify as transmasculine. And that fascinated me, like, really fascinated me, and I was like, oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what my problem is. Maybe because I like dressing more boyish and looking more boyish, maybe that's what it is. And then I kind of ignored it, and I just was like, whatever. And then a couple of months later, when we'd moved to a different place, my wife asked me again, do you think you might be trans? And she has always made it very clear that she doesn't look at people because of their gender. She likes people for who they are. It doesn't matter what their gender is. So I always felt safe. And she's also my best friend, so I can tell her pretty much anything. And I was like, you know what, I don't know. I think I want to be androgynous. And she was like, okay, well, would you want testosterone? And I was like, no. That's going to make my hair grow on my face. It's going to change how I look and how I sound. And I was like, no. No, I don't ever want that. I was really frightened. And it's weird to say I was frightened, but I really was. I didn't know. I was getting closer to figuring out who I was, but it was scaring me that I was getting closer. So I put it off for a long time, and I was like, maybe I'm just androgynous. Maybe I'm gender neutral. Maybe I'm transmasculine. And it was a lot of back and forth and talking about it, and then I kind of just ignored it for a while and just didn't say anything. Then one day I approached Ash and I was like, I think I might be transmasculine. And she was like, okay, if that's how you feel, then good for you. At least you kind of know where you're going. And I was like, yeah, so I'm going to wear more boy clothes. I'm going to bind constantly and eventually get top surgery. And then a little bit later on, I finally just kind of twigged. I don't know what, I can't remember what I was doing. I remember being sat in my old place though. No, my new house. And I was like, oh shit. That's what it is. And I just realised that I should have been born a boy. The thing I thought all along was exactly that. I really accepted it. Just, it was kind of like an all-in-once kind of an epiphany and acceptance moment. And it was very stressful. Because this is like a full honesty video. It's like exactly how I felt. I felt very stressed. I was like, fuck, what am I going to do now? How am I going to start doing this? Where do I go from? I can't wait 4 to 5 years for the NHS to go, oh yeah, you are trans, when I already know. And go, oh, maybe you need a medication. I already know. I already know where I need to go and what I need to do. So I started to look into it to realise, as I said, the NHS waiting times are insane. Like, really insane. And I'm nearly 30, so for me, I'd spent a long enough in my life waiting around to figure it out, and for me to figure it out, I needed to get a move on. Luckily, I am in a good job where my pay is good enough that I can survive by going private. I pay to go private with private healthcare. Just because, as I said, I didn't want to wait. It literally took me 2 months. I messaged them, I contacted them, I paid them X amount for blood tests, monitoring, 24/7 access to advice, and repeat prescriptions. So I paid some money, and I did some counselling sessions where they talked me through some stuff to establish whether I really was trans or I was just having issues with something else. As you can tell, trans. So yeah, and then I started my journey, and now I am 9 months on testosterone, almost a year out as trans, and I've never felt better. I've battled depression for a long time. A long time. And I don't really look at the world the same way as people do. I don't understand a lot. Not that I'm not intelligent, I don't read emotions well. I definitely have some kind of... my wife thinks that it's Asperger's, which makes sense because I'm just not good with a lot of stuff, and people think I'm really weird. Eventually, if I want to, I will get properly diagnosed, but I'll just accept that I'm just real weird. But yeah, so, this has been a really big learning experience. I've learned a lot about myself, like a lot. This whole journey, I went from loathing everything about myself for my entire life, thinking I'm worthless, thinking I'm not enough, and that my life isn't worthwhile unless I'm living for other people and making sure that they're happy, never mind if I am or not. So I gave up a lot of who I was for a really long time, and I put myself on the back burner for a lot of people when they didn't even ask. I just did it and kind of put myself in the position where I was ignored and I didn't know what I wanted because I wouldn't let people help me. And then my wife just insisted on helping me and taught me that it's okay to talk about things a lot more. But most importantly, I was taught how to love myself. And I never have before now. It's taken me a very, very long time. For, shockingly, as a trans person, from female to male, I don't hate the body I have. I've had no surgeries. I'm 9 months on testosterone. Yet, I can walk around with no clothes on and not be miserable. I still love myself. My wife finds me very attractive. She makes sure I know that's how she feels. She tells me I'm handsome every day. She tells me I'm sexy or I'm hot. Just casual little things. And I'm like, yeah, I feel good about myself. I feel like I'm worth something. I'm worth more. Shockingly, I don't have what a lot of trans people identify as gender dysphoria. I don't. Because I do have gender dysphoria. I understand that my body is not the right body. However, gender dysphoria and hatred of your own body is not the same thing. I don't hate the body I have currently. It has served me for 29 years of my life. It has kept me going. It supports me. And I live in it. Just because it's not right for me right now doesn't mean I hate it. And in time it will change. So yeah, this is a super long video. Yeah, so this is the first one I thought I'd do really about my coming out story. A bit more. Obviously, if there are parts of this that you'd like to know more about, because I do ramble and I do just chat shit quite a lot. And I get lost in tangents. I can't help myself. So if there's parts of it that you'd like me to make more in-depth videos about, or if you have questions, please just send them to me privately if you want. You can send them to me on my Instagram. You can send it to me on here in private message. Yeah. My Instagram handle is tattooed punk trash, I think. It might not be. I can't remember. I literally go on it, post a picture of myself every now and again and make a video. That's kind of all I do. I don't remember what my name is. Probably tattooed punk trash. So if you have questions, please let me know. Yeah, and this is my coming out story, I guess. Sorry, it was real long and probably quite boring for a lot of you, but someone asked and I felt like it was a nice thing to do. It was nice for me to finally kind of get it out there. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed. I will look into making long videos like this more, and a lot of short videos for fun, just to kind of bring up the balance, and I will look into getting better at editing stuff. I promise. So it won't be just this continual thing where I talk for ages and occasionally swear because I've screwed up. It will be cut nice, and I don't know, I'll do something. Thanks, guys.